All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 97th episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W. here.
Groggy morning for Cream and Gary W. today.
Struggle Bus City.
Gary was traveling last night and got in super late. I've been to the Yankee Stadium 2 days in a row and coming off a long weekend, and I just feel like mush.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you on this because 6 gigs this past weekend, and then the Ranger game on Monday. You got rained out over there at Yankee Stadium Monday night, and then you were back at it early.
Those Mondays are really like, they got to be hard days off or half days off, and this week it just didn't happen. So,
well, I got free tickets to the Ranger game, so there was no saying no to that for sure.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that.
I mean, I changed my flight for that thing, so that was like a must go to.
So being at the Yankee game yesterday, the whole time I'm like listening to all these guys and what their walk-up music is, and I'm sitting there thinking like, man, if I was the shortstop for the Yankees, what would my walk-up song be? And I don't know if I have one specific one, but I have a philosophy on how I would pick mine. So do you have one?
Yeah. I had a few run through my head when you posed this question yesterday on email. And the one I've come to was definitely Jay-Z, Where I'm From, which has like this hard beginning to it. And I think it's like great intro music.
Yeah. When you brought the song up, I'm like, man, I can't remember how this song goes. And then I went to Spotify and played it, and I was like, yeah, that's real tough. It's got to be something that's like tough, right?
Yeah, I either tough or like starts really epic. I thought that I always think back to like the glory days of the Yankees and what they came out to. And
yeah,
Paul O'Neill's Bob O'Reilly was amazing. And that just reminds me of playoff baseball.
yeah.
Tino Martinez had a good one too, I think, back in the day, but I can't recall offhand what it was. You know, it's kind of funny. Derek Jeter's was forgettable.
He used to do Jay-Z sometimes, right? I forget what he used to do.
Jay-Z, I think Biggie maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
But nothing like really super epic.
Yeah. So I wrote down a few, and like, again, we're dating ourselves with their musical choices here, but
yeah, big time.
To me, it's got to be like a hip hop track that is just super New York,
Right, because we're both Yankee fans, so we imagine this as being a Yankee, right?
Right. So there's a couple things. I want my track to be like tough, so when I come out, the crowd's getting fired up. So like personally, for some of my choices, like Jay-Z Public Service Announcement, Gangstar Mass Appeal.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because my DJ name is Cream, Wu-Tang Cream would be another one. Yeah. And then I'd have to have like a big pun in there. So I put like maybe Twins. It might just have to be the instrumental on some of those tracks because not the cleanest. But the other thing that I was thinking about, though, besides just those tracks, if I was playing like right now in 2022, I would cater to New York City Yankee Stadium. So like what's popular in the city, I would have a Bad Bunny track that I would come out to.
Okay.
I would have a Pop Smoke track that I would come out to. Like really just catering to that like young, drunk crowd that's getting fired up for Yankee baseball.
A couple of things. When I played in the Bronx, I played the zoo at the Bronx Zoo, and I've told the story before. And I got one more song at the end of the night, and I dropped Big Pun. What track is
Caribbean Connection?
No. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, like his big shit. What's wrong with me? This is
the mush right here. This is the mush.
Here it is. This
still not a player. I don't know. What are you talking about?
I'm gonna pull it up right now. Is it still not a player? No, still not a player. It's so hard.
It's so hard. See, like when I think Big Pun, I think Capital Punishment, the first album. So It's So Hard's a good one off the second album, though.
Yeah. So like drop that, and like because it was the Bronx, it had a lot of local people, like the place went absolutely ape shit. So like it still translates. It definitely like his shit still translates for sure.
Listen, can I sneak a little Dembo track in there? Like how does this white boy know about El Alfa? Like, let's go. Might sell a couple more jerseys that way.
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. I texted you yesterday, and I didn't know if it was just the seventh inning. Was that what was going on? Because I was at a bar that didn't have game sound on. And I texted you. I'm like, why is everybody dancing? And you're like, oh, dude, it's the YMCA.
Your all-time most hated track.
Oh my god, I'm not a fan, of course, but which is funny because one of our regulars was, what's his name, the Indian. I don't remember his name offhand, but he was one of the more popular of the Village people. But he was one of our regulars at 626 for a long time.
Really?
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
And like, I would never play it. Like, I asked him, like, do you want me to play it? And he's like, nah, it's cool. Yeah, I'm sure he's heard it enough.
Yeah.
The walk-up.
God, no,
was that somebody's walk-up music, or is that just the YMCA that they play?
No, they do it. They do it after. Okay. I forget. It might be the sixth after the sixth inning. I'm not sure. Inning.
Yeah, I looked up and I'm like, why is everybody dancing? They don't show, because when it's Yes Network, they do it all the time, so they don't show that. But I guess because it's a nationally televised game and it's not played everywhere, like they were showing, like the crowd was going crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird.
I've been a long time Yankee fan, and I go to the games and I just I'm like the dude from the movie Major League that's sitting in the outfield, like, they'll blow it. They're going to blow it every time. And like, especially this year, because I'm just not really a fan of like how the team was put together. And like, the stadium was loud yesterday, but I thought it could have been louder. There were moments where I was like, wow, it's really loud in here, but not like deafening from what I remember, years ago.
The new Yankee Stadium stinks. I mean, I'll go on record here and say it's, you know what? No, I mean, MetLife Stadium's actually the worst stadium in the tri-state area, but the new Yankee Stadium is not good. I don't know if I'm going to get pushback on this, but I love Citi Field. Love to go to Citi Field. I think the setup's better. The aesthetics nicer. You have the porch out in the outfield, which is amazing. Like, you just go hang out there, not even watch the game. I don't know. I just, and the fact that the stadiums are a lot smaller than they used to be. The old Yankee Stadium, remember, they used to put the attendance up on the big board, and it'll be like 71,000 people, 72,000 people. It was like a ton, and now it's like 45,000 people. It's just a lot different. The experience is different. It's not just, and this is all stadiums in general. It's not just for baseball. When we think about Yankee Stadium, I think we think about going there for baseball and not for an experience. Like, we went to the Braves game when we DJ'd out in Atlanta. That place was an experience. That was awesome. Like, you could walk around, never even watch the game, but that's not what we expect at Yankee Stadium. So.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I something new that they do have now at Yankee Stadium is a DJ. Shout to DJ Jay Jung. I think he does Brooklyn Nets stuff too. I met him in Brooklyn, but I didn't know he was doing Yankee games until I saw it pop up on my Instagram feed, and I was like, oh shit. Like, we got to get Jay on the show to kind of just talk about his experience as an in-stadium DJ. I think that'd be really dope. But he was there yesterday too. So he's out in the outfield. And
stadium DJing, that's not easy, man. Like, I stood there with Phil, who does the Red Bull games, and he's got like 10 sheets of paper that he's got to follow, and it's like minute by minute.
You have a whole run of show.
And like, it's a lot. It seems like a lot. I saw a big shout out to Monopoly. I saw Monopoly played the Ranger game on Monday when I was there. He's the regular DJ for them and for the Knicks.
Yeah, he does everything at the Garden.
I didn't realize that Tao Group is now involved at the Garden, and so they're now bringing in DJs to do guest spots. So NVM was in. He's a Tao Group DJ, and he did between the first and second period. He was the quote unquote guest DJ for the night. So nice. It's kind of cool to see that like the DJ aspect of entertainment is becoming like a forefront thing at events, sports events.
I think what's cool is that some of these hospitality groups are now coming into the stadiums and helping to curate that a little bit, where they bring in either a nightclub experience or a bar experience or a food experience. And then they also bring the knowledge and network of having nightlife and having DJs and entertainment and bringing something different to the stadiums. In New York, it was never as much of a thing, right? It's all about the sport. It's all about the Knicks. It's all about the Yankees. And I know they've been doing it at the Garden for a few years here, but it is nice to see some of these other Tri-State New York City teams bringing in entertainment and DJs. So, shout to Jay Jung, shout to Monopoly.
I was shocked to see like Tao Group there's a Tao food stand there. Like that's incredible. You can't beat that. And that whole section of the by the way, if anybody who's listening, I know this is not like super DJ related, but anybody who's listening, if you haven't gone to the Garden this year yet, go. It's incredible. They did work over the off season, and there's all these new little nightlife looking sections where there's lighting and there's different kinds of drinks and cocktails and food. It's just an amazing experience I had on Monday. Incredible.
I haven't been to the Garden since I think before pandemic. Maybe for college basketball. I don't really remember.
You got to go. You got to just for whatever. It's such a good experience.
I got to also shout TJ, the DJ who does the Devils, because we do a bunch of stuff at the Devils arena, Prudential. And, it's always good to pop in on TJ. He's always playing get down edits for the hockey games, which is dope.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this, we haven't talked for 2 weeks. So you had a pretty crazy experience where you were down in Atlantic City, you did day life at the pool, and then you played Kiss Kiss at night. And by crazy, I mean not a very good experience. And you had to kind of fight through some issues. So talk about what happened and really talk about like how you got through it.
It was, gosh, it was horrible. I wish that on nobody. It sucks. So I went and I hooked up and I started to play, and first of all, I had no control over the CDJs initially. So now I'm just kind of playing internal, which sucked. Then kind of figured it out and got the CDJ. I went HID mode and got everything going that way. So then I had control over the CDJs. But then my right up fader would stop the track. It was like I guess it was the auto start feature, which is a terrible feature. I don't even know why that would be a thing. So once you touch the fader, it either starts or stops the track.
So is that like a MIDI mapping thing where somehow it just got MIDI mapped where that happened? Or is that an actual like Serato setting?
So I think that is in how you have the folder with all of your drivers in it, and then you could click into the driver, and then you kind of see like the mapping of the mixer through the driver. I think it was in there. And like an idiot, I'm in my actual Serato looking in like my effects. And I'm trying to make it stop, but like as I'm going, like I'm naturally hitting the right fader. You can't avoid it because you're so
just
used
habit.
To it, and I kept hitting and the fucking music kept stopping. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then finally, after like the 5th time, the manager comes over and he's like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I'm like, "It took this long to come over here. I couldn't leave the booth. I was still DJing." And I kind of explained to him what happened. They brought another mixer in, same thing. It was on the S9. So it was obviously something within my driver or within my effects for that particular mixer, because this doesn't happen. It's never happened before. I don't even know how it got turned on. I don't know I don't know how. I still haven't tested it after that.
Yeah, that's so strange.
So what I was doing at one point, I was just instant doubling the one side. So I'd be only mixing on my left, which was not comfortable for me. I'd like to mix on my right if I had to pick a side.
Yeah.
And I'd have like a good 45 minutes and it would go, and like I'd start to get into it and kind of forget that I was doing it. And then I touch the fucking up fader again and it would happen again. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And it was just like an ongoing thing all night. But I wound up, I looked at my set. My set was good. Like the actual music played was good.
Right.
Was it mixed the best? No, it absolutely was not. And like I still had people like, "Oh, I had a great time." Like the music was good. I also had people that did not like it. for obvious reasons, because just there was no flow at some points,
Right.
like where
You're just hoping to mix one song to the other, not even worry about like, does this fit together?
just trying to get through it, man. Like
Yeah.
it was like 11:30, and I'm just like, there can't still be 4 hours. Like this sucks, and just
Wait,
stressful.
what time do they close?
I played my last song at 3:06.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know if they didn't give me an end time. I just started to play. Nobody even really came to talk to me before the set, because they were in their meeting, like their pre-shift.
Yeah.
So, they do their pre-shift, and then I'm already just playing. Like, I just was making sure that the music was on before 10:30. I think it was 10:30 was the start time. But then, like, yeah, it was like a struggle bus for an hour, and then that's when they tried to swap out the mixer. We put on a mix, and it was tough, and it was just like just one of those instances where it's like you just have to do it. You can't not play. You have to play. Like,
right. You got to find a way to make music play.
You're the entertainment, so I don't care what happens. Just make it work. And I did, and it wound up being all right. Like the place didn't empty out by any means.
Yeah.
So that was a plus.
It's one of those things where people are there to have a good time. And like, as long as you're playing music that's reasonably fits into the time of where you're at, like you can get through it. You're going to be like, this was the worst set of all time. But someone who has no idea about DJing and what's going on, might not know. Now, if the music shuts off in the middle of a song, are they going to know? Yeah, they're going to know. So like, if you could find a way to just avoid that, which obviously was your number one goal, right? But I don't know. I think there was a couple things that you potentially could have done to maybe get through it. Now, when you're in the moment, are you thinking of these things? Probably not.
No, I was in complete panic mode for hours.
I think this is a great lesson for everybody out there, because I started doing this, and to me, this is the biggest safety net that you could possibly have as a DJ. And that is having a USB stick with mixes. Because if you had a USB stick with a mix, you could put a 1 hour mix on of hip hop, and then you have a 1 hour window of trying to get your shit to work, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not worrying about testing stuff while music is playing, because you're playing a stick, and you could have a stick play on the right, and on the left be seeing if you could figure out your Serato situation. And at least with the stick and with the mix, it buys you some time, and it de-stresses you a little bit, because when you're in that really high anxiety, high stress like moment, it's really hard to think like clearly and be like, all right, well, when there's no pressure on, you're like, all right, well, here's the first thing I'll check. Here's the second thing I'll check. But when you're stressed out and you're also worrying about like, all right, I have to figure this out and figure out a way to play the next song, it's impossible to make it work.
When it's a mixer issue, it freaks me out, because like it's kind of really out of your control. Like at that point, like you can't unplug that mixer, even if you have that mix on. Like,
right.
What are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, and that was a rough part. I did put a mix on, but it was like it wasn't a hip hop mix, and it should, and that's what that's a hip hop room,
right?
And it's funny that they put a house mix on so we could swap the mixer out, and it was an EDM mix, and I was like, you guys don't even have a hip hop mix?
Yeah.
Which was definitely weird, because that's definitely not an EDM room. The crazy part about this whole story, I didn't get I'm sorry. I got one request, the whole night, which leads me to believe that the music I was playing was fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally one request, and it was some drunk guy who was literally standing behind me.
Yeah, they have the VIPs behind you sometimes.
And he got kind of pissed that I didn't have it in that moment. I would usually just download the song, but I was like not in a position to download a song.
Right.
He got like mad and like nudged me. I was like, this guy's like, he's trying to fight me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not having this tonight, and I just kind of laughed it off with him. But but the fact that it was one request was actually that was a bright spot of my night, I thought.
Yeah. This is just a good lesson, right? Because no matter how long you've been in the game, no matter how much experience you have, things pop up that you sometimes don't know the answer to, or you have no control over. So being ultra prepared, which we always talk about, is your best friend in these situations, right? Having the mix with, or having the USB with multiple mixes, knowing what you're playing on, right? Because like, did you know what you were playing on, the setup, before you got there?
No, I did not.
Right,
And
like the S9 is not something that you normally play on.
Right. I could have checked with you because you've played there. Greg had played there recently. But I played on an S9 and didn't have an issue the last time I played on one. So like I thought, like, to have this issue pop up when I did not have this issue prior, I mean, I understand it. Shit happens with Serato constantly.
Yeah.
You know, and you run into these weird, and you can just see it in our group chat. There's just weird shit that pops up within Serato all the time. And you just have to try to figure it out as best you can in the moment.
Right. And if you do a good job with the manager or owner or whoever's there trying to help you in figuring out what's going on, you save your butt a little bit in being invited back. Because listen, most of the time when this stuff happens, you're probably not coming back.
Yeah, I'm not getting invited back there. I know that. And that's fine. And I get that as a booker, I wouldn't have me back. So, you know, it is what it is. These things, like I just said, these things do happen, but at the end of the day, you can't let them happen in a way that, you know, is noticeable, because when it's noticeable, you're not being invited back, period. I don't care what happens. And
right.
Like, and I know you and I both know that stuff pops up, but like, it's still, you have to run the show.
If that was our booking, or if that was our venue, we'd be fucking killing the DJ.
Killing it.
Because you and I would be in the middle of DJing with 500 people in front of us and having to deal with it. And we'd be like, this person's fucking done, or they're not, you know, like, this is not a good look, or like,
I felt
figure it out. There's been times where people have called me while I'm DJing and be like, I'd be yelling at them, like, I don't give a fuck. Just figure it out. I'm DJing. Like, I can't help you.
Right.
Put a mix on, like, do something. Figure it out. And that's why I was doing my best not to like try to bother anybody that night. I know I got on the group chat and nobody seemed to know what it was. We kind of figured it out the next day. Tempo sent me an article and I think that's what it was. But you know, and I did my best to apologize to the manager, but you know, it is what it is. It's stuff happens, and you know, I thank God I have other bookings that I can take. Yeah, for sure. Whatever. It is what it is, right? We still have learning lessons. No matter how many years in the game, you learn something new, you know, something happens, or there's an experience that's going to make you a better DJ. Because the next time you're in another weird situation, you'll be like, oh, remember that one time I was at Kiss Kiss and this weird setting happened. Maybe there's a weird setting. I need to go check this location.
Right. Now I would think to go to the driver and go mess with the configuration within the driver. And I think that's a big thing. Like, if you're having an issue, sometimes that is what it is. I had that issue at 626, an issue where the lines were all messed up, and it was just within that driver section.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so many years ago now. Like, you know, I just didn't think of it. But I'm not going to lie. Like, it affected the rest of my trip, because like every time I went to DJ, I was like a little more stressed out than I would have been.
Right. Like, is this going to happen again? Kind of thing.
Right. And it just like, I feel like it took away from me being the best DJ that I could be for the 2 weeks that I was there, or everything after Kiss Kiss. You know, because it's just like that was just so fucking stressful. Like, I haven't been through something like that in a long time. It's been a long, long while. You know, 21 years in, this shit still pops up.
Yeah.
So
one other takeaway that I wanted to mention for everybody listening, something that I find that sometimes I used to do, and then I would show up and have to figure all these different things out. So something that I would highly recommend, no matter if you're 1 year into the game or 20 years into the game, when you get a booking, especially if it's a new booking, get all the details up front, all of them. Ask, you know, the booker might not give you all the information. What's the start time? What's the end time? What's the pay? Who's the manager? You know, what's the DJ setup? So
who's got my room key?
Yeah. How do I get my hotel room? And when do I get my hotel room?
Right.
Like, those are all questions that you want to just ask up front, because number one, it takes away some of the stress or unknown of what could happen when you walk in. You know, you have the answers to all these questions, and you could focus more on just, I'm going to go rock my DJ set. What am I playing? You know?
Yeah.
I think that's a huge, huge thing. And I know a lot of the younger DJs sometimes like they're just happy to get the booking. But ask all these questions, because sometimes you'll get the booking and you never find out how much money you're getting paid, and you get there and it's $200. And you're like, well, why the fuck did I take this booking when I could make $400 or $500 or whatever somewhere else? So ask the questions.
You're right. Because you know what? I didn't ask all the questions. I walked into this set worrying about the music and the music only, because I had prepped for like a week and a half for this set, because I hadn't played we talked about it on the last podcast. I hadn't played a full hip hop set in years, like full hip hop front to back. And my music was great and it was effective, but like, not only did all of this shit happen during the set, I then left the club to go get my room at the desk, and they're like, oh, we don't have that name on file. We don't have any of these names on file. And then I didn't get my room. And then I have to like scramble to find Angelo to go stay in his room. It was just a mess, like the whole night. But like, I kind of chuckled because I was like, you know, this is typical. Like this this just made, this is the night. This is exactly it. And we had a great, like the Harris set was great, and people had fun, and we had fun, and you know, playing with Angelo was a great time. And then we had a great dinner before our sets, and then like it just fell apart after that. So yes, ask those questions and make sure that you have all of the things lined up. It's not just about the music; it's about everything else too.
Right.
And that was just me being too comfortable, you know, and that's just nothing like that's happened in a while. So it was a nice reality check, to be honest. So
yeah, it's a good lesson. Still getting lessons 20 years in.
Still getting lessons. Absolutely.
It's crazy.
It is. This is the one job that like, because like there's ever changing evolution in equipment.
New technology, new equipment, new ways of doing things.
That like, you know, you're always learning, you know, and it's nice because it keeps you on your toes. But there is that level of comfortability that, you know, you can get complacent and then shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
So don't get comfortable.
So you had that experience this past weekend. After all the trash I've talked, after all the, you know, retirement, never doing a wedding again, never done with private events, somehow I get sucked back in. And not only did I have a wedding this week, I also had a pretty big private event. So it was like all private events all weekend. Even that's not true. I worked a lot of gigs, but
I was kind of shocked that you played so many in such a short period of time.
It's just the way it kind of worked out. This corporate event popped up on a Wednesday, and it's, you know, corporate events, big money. What? I can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No. What is it? One of my voice notes?
No, it was money. Ted DiBiase. That's what it is. That's what that's all about.
This was a money grab weekend for me, pretty much. And so last summer I'd done a wedding, and the bride and groom were really into house music, and they were like, oh, we want like tech house and techno and for the last like hour or 2 hours of the night. And like, usually you would hear that and be like, yeah, sure. And then you get there and it's like, you play the wedding like you play the wedding, and you get like 30 minutes or the last little bit of time playing tech house. Like, no, we got through all the formalities and it was like tech house time, like dusky, like not your prototypical like 2022 tech house, like real house music.
Right.
So this bride and groom and their whole party were really into this vibe. So I got booked for the best man and his wife this past weekend. And it was the same thing. Like, we want, you know, a lot of tech house. We want it like you did the last wedding. And that's what we did, bro. Like, we were like deep in there. Like,
gee, and people were like loving it.
So I was playing like a normal wedding. I played a lot of older music for the older people early in the night. And the best man of this particular wedding comes up and he's like, yo, Cream, let's get deep and dark. I'm like, all right, cool. And then like all the young people got on the dance floor when we started doing that.
Wow.
So this was a unique wedding. I had Tim Vu with me, which thank God I did, because if I didn't, I would have been in big trouble. But music wise, they were happy, and that's fine. But for this particular wedding, I was not just the DJ. I was the host. I was the maitre d'. This particular venue was not really a prototypical wedding venue. It was a brewery that did weddings, and they had an event planner. And normally, I get with the event planner, we talk about the flow of the night, and they kind of run the show.
Yeah.
I realized very quickly that they were not running the show. So I'm like, Tim, you're going to have to DJ and do the heavy lifting for the early part, all the formalities in the beginning. And I was running the show. Like, bride and groom, I need you guys. You're lining up. Bridal party, you're lining up for introductions. Mom and dad, get ready, because we're doing the dances right after introductions. We're going to do the speeches at this time. I'm calling tables for dinner and like making the call of when to like fire tables. And I realized very quickly that there was nobody that was calling the shots, and like I had to call the shots. So not only was it a wedding that I don't want to DJ anymore, not only was I emceeing, which I don't feel the most comfortable doing.
Right.
But I was also running the show and being the maitre d' for this venue. And it was like, man, this is why I don't do weddings anymore. Like, there's not enough money in the world to pay me to have to deal with waking up, working from 1 p.m. for a 6 p.m. ceremony and getting home at 2 a.m. Like, it's just not worth it.
Did you feel a little more comfortable on the mic and with the crowd, being that you were the one calling the shots?
Yes.
Like that definitely had, like, that ingrains you into the party so much, and you become so personal with everybody that's involved in the wedding that it just forces you to be really comfortable out there on the mic anyway.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an advantage. I personally, I hate dealing with maitre d's. Every time I dealt with any kind of maitre d' at a venue, they were fucking dicks, and it made me not want to do private events anymore. And it's one of the last weddings I did. I got in like an all-out argument at the end. This was after I was packed, everything was done, and I just, at the end, I was like, you know what, you were a fucking dick tonight, and we got an all-out argument. I'm like, well, go, and it was like, go fuck yourself, the usual shit.
Yeah.
And I packed my shit up, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
I was like, because you know what, like I'm not getting paid enough. I'm not getting paid by you, the maitre d', or you, the venue. I'm getting paid by my clients who the bride and the groom. And I'm like, you don't tell me, you don't tell me what the fuck to do. You know what I mean? And so that was my breaking point. So there's an advantage and a disadvantage. There's a little more stress on you when you got to run the show. But like I said, it really, you control everything. Which I'm
gonna call it a TO right now. We're gonna do 20-second TO.
Okay.
For those of you watching YouTube, we have a shirtless Jay Diamond eating in the back of my screen. Get out of my podcast, please.
I saw him back there, and I'm like,
no, I'm busting your chops. It's fine, but I just think it's funny.
Shout
to Jay Diamond, NJ promoter extraordinaire.
Took care of me this weekend at Birch. Took care of me. He always does. You know what? I played Birch a bunch over the summer, and it was just nice to have him back. It's nice to have him and just the team that is there from fall to spring.
Yeah, Jay Diamond showing a little hospitality over there at Birch, taking care of the DJs and the entertainers.
He's been great. He was really good. Really, really good.
All right, so I interrupted what we were talking about, but I've had pretty good experiences dealing with the maitre d' in certain venues, and then other ones they are dicks. But it's just hard having to play multiple roles when your main role is to be the DJ, right? Your main role is to play the music, and when you get forced into these alternate roles, it's a lot harder. And we brought up using the microphone. I think Jay Diamond used to make fun of me all day about my microphone skills, and for not having done a wedding in a long time, and now being out in nightlife and being on the mic a lot and coming back to the private event, I really wasn't that nervous. The only
Yeah.
thing I was nervous about was saying the wrong name or saying the wrong song. And that's really
Right.
the only thing I was nervous about, not actually standing in the middle of the dance floor, having all the eyes on me and emceeing and hosting this event. Like you said, this was the second time I worked with this group of people. So there was more, I was way more comfortable because, we got drunk at the first wedding last summer together. And,
Right.
we had the best man was, he was there at the previous wedding. His parents were there. I got to know them. So it was a little easier in that sense as well. But it just, man, going back to the private events and every time it's just like, man, this is hard. This sucks. So all the guys who do this on a regular basis, shout to you guys because it's really hard. It's really hard to do it well.
Yeah.
And being able to not only play the music well and play the right music and have a sense of like what your crowd wants and what's new and what's popular, but then doing all the other stuff and all the meetings and the sales and the, dealing with the parents, and it's just so much. So all the guys who do in the private events, I just want to give you guys a shout out because it's a lot of work, it's hard work, and it's hard to do it well. So shout to you guys.
For sure. For sure. I came up, as everybody knows, I came up working with Johnny Mack and Mystical Entertainment. And like I was the Tim Vu, right? Like I would go and I would play all the formalities and he would do all of the heavy lifting. He'd be lining people up. He'd be dealing with the maitre d'. He'd be, just dealing with all that stuff. And it was just like run of show, crazy amounts of stuff that he would have to know and just crazy. Like it's just so much. And you have to be really dedicated to do it well because there is just, you have to be, an accountant, you have to be a DJ, you have to be an MC, you have to be, Mr. Hospitality. Like it's just, you have to wear a lot of hats in the private event world, and it's hard.
When you're a DJ and you're one entity, you're DJ Gary W, right? And that's your business, and you only really need to worry about you. But when you run Get Down DJs or you run Mystical Entertainment, not only do you have to worry about you and worry about your business, you have to worry about your clients. You have to worry about your DJs. You have to worry about your entertainers. And it's like, it is a lot of work. So even the guys who are just, it's one person and you hire people to come help you for private events, like it's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. But all right. What are you listening to this week? Maybe we get into that part of the show here.
Man, I literally have nothing. I've not prepared for this portion of the show. I've been listening to talk radio, New York City talk radio with the Yankees. That's what I've been listening to.
Really? Been in on your sports talk?
Yeah, man, Yankees, baseball, playoffs, like football. This is a great time for sports, and I'm into it right now.
So I think what I'm going to be doing for the next 3 weeks, which I found was a weak portion of my sets the last 2 weeks, was like pop house music. I feel like I didn't prep at all for pop house. I prepped so much for that damn Kiss Kiss event.
Yeah. You probably over prepped.
I over prepped for that and like didn't prep for anything else. So like when I went and played like Ashford, which killed it that night, did a great job because the place was absolutely mobbed. But like I kept thinking about like, oh, I need to play some pop house right now, like some energetic stuff that's like a little new pop music. I had like nothing. Nothing new, I should say. I have plenty of it. So I just kind of reached back, but then I was like, well, I'm not like that. There's nothing within like the month or the last month and a half that I've downloaded that I'm really interested in. So like that, I feel like I under prepped on Pop House. So that's going to be a big thing for me. And I'm going to go to Digital Music Pool for it because they're the best at that, in my opinion. They really they do a great job with the mashups and the, the local DJ mashups and bootlegs and whatnot. And their top downloads and top 40 and all that stuff. They just do a really excellent job with laying that out in an easy way to download and prep for your next gig. So big shout to Digital Music Pool, obviously. Yeah,
shout to DMP. Something I do want to bring up, we're not going to get into it for this particular episode, but I know that the DJ world, the talk of the town has been Serato Stems and, people on both sides of the spectrum saying how this is going to be a game changer and it's going to create an opportunity for DJs to be really creative and creative on the fly. And, I've heard some DJs talk about how this is going to allow them, you could literally give them the exact same playlist to play for multiple gigs, and they could play it completely differently. And I think when you think about it that way, it's really exciting for us as DJs and creative people, especially the people who are playing creatively, right? Or who are creating mashups on the fly, using acapellas in their sets. This is an exciting time. I think this creates a way for DJs to really set themselves apart, sound differently, and do things that no one else is doing. We're talking about how the music, it's like everyone plays the same stuff is a complaint I hear from certain people sometimes, right? This allows you to play the same stuff in a completely different way, and it's really exciting.
I'm so excited about this because I've been waiting for this since I started DJing. There used to be a piece of equipment that I had back at way back, like when I first started. And it was a little sampler. If you're watching YouTube, it's like that big. It was a Gemini sampler. It had a round button on it, and you had 4-second, 8-second, 12 and 16, I believe, pads. And we would do stuff where it was pull a sample for an instrumental, loop it, and then mix out into that. And it just kind of this feature reminds me of that, and of that just raw creativity that you get to have. Okay, this is a great beat. I want to play this portion of the song. I could drop out the vocal, continue that beat, and then mix into something else. There's just a million different things that you can do that I don't have to do manually. I don't know. There's just so many different features that I watched a bunch of hours of video on this with Mojax and a couple other videos on YouTube. And they say the sound quality is not going to be, the best that you can have. You're still going to have a little grainy background, whatever feature you're dropping out, you're still going to have a little grainy background. But I think as you play another track over it, that'll get drowned out a bit. There'll be improvements too as time goes on, but
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? This is a beta right now.
I was going to say it's still in beta, right?
So this is not even the final edition that's going to come out. So there have been a lot of complaints, the file sizes get saved to your computer and they're huge. And I'm sure there are ways to go and edit these, the settings in your Serato and not have to do that. But I think this is a tool in the tool belt, Yeah. Some guys are going to use it. Some guys and girls are not going to use it. Just like right. Serato sample and just like all the other features in Serato that some DJs use and some don't. So I think there's still a little ways that it can be improved and to just stabilize a little bit, which it will. Just like any new technology or any new version of something, it takes a little while to work out the kinks. You get a new iPhone or new OS software, it's going to take a couple weeks to work out the kinks, right? Same thing here. So I think we're going to have UFOso on here to give us a full in-depth rundown. Dr. Oso, he's on a cruise right now, DJing for Norwegian Cruise Line. So shout to UFOso. But when he's back, we'll do a Serato Stems episode for sure and dig way deeper into this.
Yeah, but I think the feature that he'll probably focus on too is the fact that you could just pick tracks. It doesn't have to be your full library. You could pick just certain tracks for it to use this tool. So it doesn't need to be everything. There could be just songs that you're into that you'd like to slice up, and you could just load those tracks. I think that's a huge advantage, that it doesn't need to be every single track. I don't think anybody's CPU can really even handle that anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll dive into that with him.
And listen, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets integrated into BeatSource, or Serato and BeatSource have that collaboration. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is something where you don't have to worry about the file size on your computer, because it could all be done at BeatSource.
Right.
So this opens up a lot of doors of potential for things to come down the road. So, I was hating a little bit. I put out a reel, but it was really more so just saying that the DJs who are creative and who use acapellas and find creative ways to bring music in and out are going to find ways to use this. And that's really it,
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for the conversation with Greg.
Yeah, me too. All right, so just a little housekeeping, some stuff we have coming down the pipeline. Get Down Radio. We have McReekin dropping a mix, I believe is coming out tomorrow, the Thursday the 20th. So that'll be out this week. Also, guys, we're approaching our 100th episode. Big milestone episode. It's really awesome to think that, we've done almost 100 of these things.
It's crazy.
So we have some ideas. We're working on some stuff for the 100th episode. So look out for that one. And I think that's all we got, man.
Yeah.
Happy to be back. I missed, I don't like missing podcasts, but sometimes things get crazy and we just got to do it,
It's kind of funny when we miss more podcasts when I'm up in Jersey.
Yeah, because you're also working too. And it's just like, it's nonstop when you're here, We try to jam in all our meetings while you're here. So it's just tough. It's tough sometimes.
For sure.
But all right, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
Talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Peace, guys.